Excuse me.
That's a good start. Welcome, everybody, to the Summer Game Fest. Week 4.
Didn't think we'd start with that.
We're not going to restart. That's part of it. That's part of it. It's too integrated to cut it out, too.
I'm so sorry. Excuse me.
Anyway, welcome to Summer Game Fest. Our commentary on it, at least, because everybody needs to know what our opinions are on it. So
Absolutely.
We had a bunch of stuff happen this week, actually.
Yeah, it was a pretty big week.
3 official Summer Game Fest things, and then one thing we're going to talk about that wasn't official.
Right.
Do you want to start with that?
Yeah.
Let's start with that. We're going to start with what was called the Wholesome Direct, and this was basically an indie game showcase that showed off a bunch of indie games that were entirely wholesome, as they put it, non-violent, essentially.
Right.
So that kind of encapsulates it, but there was a quote in here from Josh Boykin, who was one of the hosts. A lot of people think wholesome games are just cute and colorful, but there's so much more than that. Wholesome games let players express love and compassion. Sometimes they're lighthearted, but make no mistake, wholesome games can tackle even the heaviest subjects. And I thought that was a really good way to put it, because generally, it's like a walking simulator. Oh, it's just a boring nothing game? No, it's doing what video games really have the opportunity to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or any kind of indie game. So I really appreciated that this event happened.
Yeah.
It's just something that doesn't get a lot of light shined on it, and it seemed pretty indie the whole thing was very professionally done. But it didn't really seem like... It seemed like a couple of fans kind of got together. It didn't really seem like, here's big overarching company putting together this thing. So I appreciated it. So what we're going to do is basically just talk about a few of the games that jumped out at us.
Honestly, what it was, it wasn't like the other stuff where they pick one or two things and they showcase it for a while. This was genuinely about 50 trailers.
There were a lot of trailers.
That was it. It was just a bunch of indie game trailers all back to back to back.
Right.
And we could talk for hours if we wanted to go over all of them.
Yeah.
We're not going to do that.
I didn't think all of them were super interesting to me.
Right.
But they were all... There's somebody out there for every single one of them.
Right.
And a lot of... Yeah. So we'll just jump into some that stuck out to us.
All right. You go ahead.
Yeah. The first one I'm going to talk about is from Kit Fox Games, who we talked to their community manager.
Yeah.
Last year on our podcast, the Nerdy Gritty cross promotion. They have a game coming out called Mondo Museum, which is essentially a museum sim, museum curator simulator,
museum tycoon, or whatever.
Essentially, but not part of that series. Yeah, essentially, it's just it seemed fairly straightforward about creating a museum.
It was really unique to me. I saw this and I had written some stuff down about it, because immediately I looked at it and I'm like, that's not for me. I am not interested in playing that game at all.
Yeah.
But then it hit me like, dang, but that's going to be for some people, though. That's going to hit some people's niche.
Oh, 100%. And I specifically wrote down, hey, maybe Animal Crossing players will think of,
oh, yeah.
There's a museum in Animal Crossing, and it's fun to fill it up.
How many people are going to name themselves Blathers?
That's exactly what it's going to be. So I thought that it was fun. It didn't look based on just the trailer, of course, it didn't look spectacular. It looked like a...
looked like a
museum simulator. Yeah. So I'm really curious as to what kind of museums you can create. Are they going to go all over the map? Is it going to be art based? Or...
I wonder if they're going to go into the museums are kind of going out of style, and you're going to have to deal with this and this. Yeah. So
I think they could have an opportunity. Let's tie in. Let's do an event with the local the museum. I don't know. Pick a museum. The Louvre.
Yeah.
And for a limited time, you can get certain pieces of art that we have in the Louvre and showcase them in your museum or something like that. And it'd be paid DLC that specifically boosts that museum.
That'd be really cool.
So I'd pay for that.
Yeah.
So that was fun. What'd you look at?
Chicory was one that hit me. You played this, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah.
I played Chicory. The demo is actually on our channel.
Right.
It's part of the summer or game festival, Steam Game Festival.
Chicory looked like something I would really enjoy. It looked kind of like a puzzle coloring game where you're walking around with this paintbrush in a black and white world.
Yeah.
And you are painting things to help progress in the game. And I'm going to guess there'll be different abilities and whatnot.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And but I just really like that aesthetic, the ability to kind of literally color the world around you.
Yeah.
There have been a few games like that, but Chicory looked fun. Art-based puzzle games, that'd be really cool. What did you think about it when you played it?
We talked about it on that one episode. It was fun. I was kind of disappointed with the actual coloring mechanic because maybe I got it wrong. Maybe I didn't find it. Maybe I wasn't paying attention. Well, if I'm honest, that happens a lot.
Yeah.
I complain about things in games that I could have solved by paying attention better. But I didn't really have. It didn't seem like I had the ability to be very fine detailed with my paintbrush. I kind of just could make broad strokes, and if I wanted to get like specific spaces on the actual screen with a certain color, I had to be very slow. I had to be and I couldn't just lock myself to one little coloring spot or something. So like I enjoy coloring. I've colored a good amount of like I have a Game of Thrones coloring book and a Witcher coloring book, and I've done some pretty good ones. And this was like, oh, cool. Oh, I can't really color how I want it, how I like to. Other than that, it was just kind of a fun adventure game.
Yep.
Your paintbrush gave you abilities to traverse the environment.
It looked unique to me, and I like it.
Yeah. Oh, it certainly is unique.
Yeah.
I'll talk about, let's see, Little Witch in the Woods.
Yeah, I have that here too. I'll go to
yeah, this is from Sunny Side Up. Essentially a life sim in which you play as a witch, an apprentice witch.
I have written here, Harry Potter meets Stardew Valley.
I said I wrote Stardew Valley, but with more magic. So yeah same thing. Yeah. So I have played through a year of Stardew Valley, like in game time.
Right.
And I love Stardew Valley. One of my, I guess, biggest complaints, which isn't really a complaint because it's not like it promised it or anything, is that there's not really a beginning, middle, and end. I would love there to be a general story that happens throughout the game, but is either completely like environmentally told and you don't actually have to pay attention, or at the same time doesn't affect the actual core gameplay. Once it's over, you just keep going.
Yeah.
It doesn't end. You can play forever. And this, I'm hoping that this one kind of has that. It does seem like it has. It said something about there being 3 years in the game where you kind of like are an apprentice and become a witch. And it'd be really cool if there was like a soft ending to the game, and then you could move on.
Yeah.
I can just keep playing.
And then DLC or whatever else they want to add to it as time goes on, whatever.
I just like narrative. And I wish there was more of that in Stardew Valley. So I feel like this could be an opportunity for that.
Yeah, for me, it looked really interesting. Again, to come back to the Harry Potter part, there were like plants you could grow, 4 potions and different things like that. And there was definitely not just explore the land and growing things. It was also explore the magic, explore the spells, and things like that. And so it really was just those two combined. And definitely something I'd be interested in. Yeah. Toem was one.
Oh, you stole mine.
Yeah. One was one that I really liked. There was a genre that I came up with in my head, the title
it was
helping
called
game.
Pokemon Snap.
Yeah. No. A helping game. And a lot of the games in the Wholesome Direct just had this purpose of you are somebody and you're going to traverse around and help people as you see them.
Right.
And a lot of games had this. This was one of those helping games, but this was a camera-based helping game.
Yeah.
So all of your abilities and the things you can do come down to you being able to take pictures of things. And it seemed really cool. The ability to find just that right angle and take a picture. I hope that they give you some minor effects or whatever that.
Oh, sure.
So that the picture doesn't have to be exactly the same.
You got to put filters in there, and yeah, 100%.
It'd be super cool if you could just hashtag like, this was my picture that completed this quest. What was your picture that completed this quest?
Oh, yeah, that'd be a great. Just bringing the community aspect. Yeah, I am baffled that there's never been another Pokemon Snap.
For real,
man.
It is beloved.
Either a remaster or a sequel. How great would.
What are you doing, guys?
Nintendo.
Pokemon Snap.
Nintendo, you've been doing
hard, right?
nothing since that game. You've been doing nothing since Pokemon
nothing
Snap.
Nothing at all.
Make another. Anyway,
but at the same time, it is basically an on-the-rails shooter, and those can't be
it's
hard
an
to make,
Yeah,
right?
it's an on-the-rails.
Those can't be hard to make. You only have to make the game from one angle.
No, obviously look, if they're making a new one, I'd be pretty disappointed if it was just an on-the-rails shooter.
Disagree.
I want to
go. If they sold it for $20.
Oh, sure. There's a whole thing, but it's like the disappointment with the new Pokemon game.
let's get back to
No, this is now a Pokemon Snap complaint video. This is now a rant. Go away if you don't want to be part of this.
Oh no, I do.
Just kidding. Let's move on. Just kidding. Okay, so you stole.
So Toem looked good.
You stole Toem. Yeah, it looked fun. It looked very minimalist.
Yeah, you stole Little Witch in the Woods, so that's fine.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I'm gonna go with my next two are from the same studio, but I'll start with When the Past Was Around.
Mm-hmm.
It's a point and click, not RPG, just a point and click adventure, I guess. Real simple. I think what mostly drew me to this was the art. A lot of the games in the Wholesome Direct were obviously hand drawn.
Yeah.
This one just screamed kind of a wholesome art style. It felt very warm. It felt very comforting.
The color palette really, really lent to that. Yes.
Yeah, and there was just a simple and all it showed was you're talking to an old lady in an old folks home, and then the person comes in and says, "Here's your medicine," if I'm remembering correctly. And it's just this real simple. I might be mixing that up.
Yep. You are thinking.
Am I mixing it up with the next
Wayward
one?
Strand.
Oh, am I?
Yes, because I have it written down here. The one that you're talking about is the one where your boyfriend is an owl person.
Oh, the time man. Okay, if I'm gonna complain about anything about the whole thing, the Wholesome Direct, there's a lot. It was a lot, and it rapid fire, and it kept coming at you. I appreciated watching it. I thought it was a good thing. It was a lot though. Maybe shorter, episodic, with 5 or 6 in each one or something.
Let's double check here real quick. What did you? What was yours called?
When the Past Was Around.
I
remember correct. I remember now. Yeah, you're right. There's a time travel thing in there, and there's an owl person.
Yes.
Man.
Yeah. When the Past Was Around is that one. And I will say, When the Past Was Around is a point and click adventure. You had it all then with a really nice kind of warm color palette.
I was thinking of the exact same thing, just the actual plot thing was wrong. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Redemption a little bit.
Yeah. This is your owl boyfriend.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
he looks just like my real life owl boyfriend, so I wanted to play it.
He looks nothing like Blathers.
Looks fun. Doesn't look anything like it'll blow anything out of the water, but that's not really the point of these games.
Though.
So.
It looks very quaint.
Yeah.
For me, I'm going to go to Wayward Strand, the one that you were kind of talking about.
This is the one with the owl boyfriend.
So,
sorry.
Wayward Strand is one where you are a girl in an old folks home, it seems, and you are just talking to the residents there, and it gave me kind of I've been talking over and over again about Spiritfarer and how excited
Which was
I am
also
for that.
in this, and I'm surprised you haven't brought it up.
Well, because I've brought it up 100 million
times.
You
have.
Yeah, and Spiritfarer is all about helping people die.
Yeah.
In a comfortable way, helping them grant their last wishes, etc. And this, I wonder if it's going to be something similar to that, but in a much more realistic setting. There was a lot of you being a young woman or a girl going to rooms and talking to people and hearing their memories and about their life and things like that. And man, I'm into that. I don't know why, but I would be into that.
In an art medium that often treats death as just a mechanic, it's really nice to have some games that kind of treat it with some gravitas.
Yes.
So yeah, it's kind of a weirdly dark thing to think about, but I really enjoy when death is talked about in more than just how many people did you kill kind of way.
For the medium that brought us push F to pay respects. Treating death in that way. Now we get these things. It was hey, these people are at the end of their life. Why don't you talk with them and help them be comfortable with being at the end of their life?
Yeah.
And I'm not certain that's what Wayward Strand is going to be, but it definitely looks like that. And so I'm really eager to see more about that.
My next one is called Space for the Space for the Unbound. It was also by Mojikin Studio, and this one is another point and click kind of adventure game. Maybe not point and click, but simple slice of life adventure game. This one entirely it looks great, but also I was very interested because it's set in 1990s Indonesia. And I was like, I have never seen a game set or from Indonesia, and hey, I'm down. I want to learn about that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what caught me there. I'd love to get kind of an entirely different culture's experience. through
love
a video
that.
game.
If you guys scroll back through our channel, I don't know if I ever actually posted the Pomali videos.
I think there's 1 or 2 or 3. You might have deleted them. We might have deleted them since it was
because it was
incomplete.
unfinished. I got too scared. But I played Pomali, which is Indonesian folk tales. I played Mulaka, which is like the Mulaka tribe in Mexico.
Yeah.
What we know today as Mexico. And then recently I played not Pillars of the Earth, Mystic Pillars, which was a like South India type thing. And I love when video games take an honest look at cultures. And this, I said like it's specifically set in 1990s Indonesia.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh,
something
that's cool.
I would. It's like a documentary to me. It's like even if I don't enjoy the movie, I'm learning something. And so at the very least, like I'll get to know some kind of culture that I don't know much about.
Hoa was one. It was one of the last ones, and one that was really interesting to me. It was a puzzle side scroller. Like a lot of these were a platforming side scroller, but it was gorgeous, just beautiful. And what really struck me is there was a quick comment, but I believe that she said it's hand painted. And if that's the case, I'm really curious to how
that's super cool.
That went and how that worked out. So I really want to see more of the aesthetics lend to that. They really do. It looks gorgeous. Go check out Ho. It does look gorgeous. But I want to know more about how they actually accomplished that, if that is the case.
I think the last one that I've got that really stuck out to me was maybe the last one or the second to last, called, I'm going to pronounce this probably wrong, Depenur Nocturne.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, weird name. Not weird, but just interesting name, or different language, French, I assume. And the plot, apparently, is you're going to a convenience store at night to find the perfect gift for your girlfriend.
Yeah.
And to me, that can go 2 ways. Funny joke game, or surprisingly deep game where there's so much more to it than meets the eye. And based on the aesthetic, this second one's probably it. It was a rainy night. It seemed kind of, maybe there'd be something supernatural, because it mentioned like in either the narration or whatever it was, is like, oh, quite convenient that there's this convenience store open, literally very convenient that it's open at this time of night. And you're just like, oh, okay. And I want to find the perfect gift. And my question is, how directed is it? Are we getting to choose the gift?
Yeah.
Is it, or is there a story that we're following? I'm going to fire you one of these days. If you don't turn your phone on silent.
Is your phone on silent right now?
Yes, my phone is always on silent. Always and forever. It doesn't even matter. Nobody ever calls me or texts me. So anyway, Depenur Nocturne, that one stuck out to me because it just seemed like real simple premise got me intrigued in what maybe it was just me, but it felt like mystery.
Yeah.
And that's always fun.
My wife and I have been rewatching her watching the first time The Office, and we just hit a few episodes where in the span of them, Michael really analyzes his relationship with Jan. Pam really analyzes her relationship with Roy.
Ooh.
Jim really analyzes his relationship with Karen.
Yep.
And in all of these things, these characters grow hugely because they're thinking about their relationship with somebody else. And Depenur Nocturne seemed to me like an opportunity to do exactly that.
Yeah.
To have you going to shop for your girlfriend, but while you're doing that, be thinking about your relationship, what that means to you, and just have like huge character growth with something like that.
100%.
Yeah. My last game that I got here is called Fold Apart, and for whatever reason, this game stuck with me.
Really?
It seemed like a really simple puzzler, but it was a paper folding puzzler where when there's like things that are apart from each other, you fold the paper and you bring them together. Or if there's something on the bottom of the screen, you can fold it up to the top of the screen. And I like puzzlers, and it was one that made my brain work for a second to really think about it. And because of that, I was immediately like, oh, all right. No, I'm interested now.
You know, that's probably why it was not one that stuck out to me.
Yeah.
When it comes to gaming, I like simple, strong narrative or fun, fast-paced action. I'm learning about my video game interests as of late. But yeah, Fold Apart.
You got the video pulled up right there.
Yeah, I do.
And it looks so
maybe
fun.
This might be a co-op game? No, single player. I don't know. But yeah, if any of them are co-op, we should definitely look into those for sure. But anyway, so Fold Apart, cool.
Yeah, looks good. Okay,
right.
so The Wholesome Direct was half an hour long. There was a crap ton.
There was
of
a
stuff.
lot there.
We went through like 20 minutes of our things. So
You're right.
Go and watch it. It's really, really good. There's a whole lot more there, but we got to move on.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't remember what was. I think Outriders. Was
Let's do Outriders.
Yeah, let's talk about Outriders. So Outriders is an upcoming game from what was the game? Square Enix.
Yeah,
it's an upcoming Square Enix game. Essentially, what they showed was a lot of gameplay.
Yes,
which was great.
Yes.
So basic premise, it is they heavily touted a co-op, third person action RPG.
It basically looks like Division 2 meets Mass Effect.
There was a lot
and I'm 100% here.
There was a lot of man. The YouTube comment sections are terrible, but this was like the live commentary. But everybody's just like, "Oh, it's just Destiny again," or whatever. Guys, stop it! You're not contributing anything useful to the conversation.
It looks really good though.
Okay, that was your overall. Mine was, okay.
For a guy who played the crap out of not Destiny, the Division 2.
The Division 2.
With the Safety Squad. Safety Squad was our team because we all ended up having, like, I had a construction worker. No, I was the police officer. We had a construction worker. We had, like, a garbage man. We're all just wearing, like, utility clothes.
Are you sure you weren't the what's the
village people?
The village people. That's what I'm looking for.
But anyway, for a guy who played a lot of Division 2, this looks a lot like that, but also you have superpowers, and it's in a futuristic
it just changes
land.
your ability.
So
yeah,
I thought it looked.
I won't say it looked bad. I mean, it rung a lot of bells for me, but it didn't look like anything that I would immediately say yes, I have to buy that.
I got a lot of notes here about it.
I've got a few things that did stick out.
The first thing that stuck out to me was that the swarm, like the enemies, were surprisingly bland. Actually, the swarms. So they chose a very monochromatic enemy. They were all just kind of gray,
just little dog monster things.
Yeah, and they all had kind of the same animation cycle. None of them were bigger or smaller or more muscular or thinner or anything like that. It was all the same model. Now, this is all not finalized or anything like that.
Yeah,
things could change, of course.
100%.
But as of right now, when you had this big mass of them chasing after you, it eventually just looked like mass of them. You know, like it was
it
hard
just
to
looked
distinguish
like
if there was
a wave of enemies you're
fighting. Yeah,
you just shoot into the mass and kill them.
That was a little disappointing to see, just kind of the enemies themselves. And then later on, they had people that you were fighting,
right?
And the same type of thing. The people looked kind of all the same.
Yeah. Pretty much all of it looked visually kind of generic to me.
Right.
Sci-fi shooter. What I liked was that they specifically pointed out the UI customization options. Thought that was really great. I'm hoping that means that's for everything, not just like a PC release. Because often in console games, you can't really control that very much, which is kind of strange. But yeah, to be able to minimize or maximize or however much you want of the UI visible on screen, I feel like that's a real simple thing.
If you don't know, UI is user interface.
Yeah.
We also call it the HUD, the
HUD.
heads-up display.
Anything that's on your screen that's
things that are on the screen
giving you
around.
information for the game. So it's like you can put the map and a compass and your ammo and health, all these things, health and all these things,
stuff,
or have none of it or have some of it, and I really like that option. I would like it if you could move it around the screen. I think that's also streamer friendly also.
Yes,
like I think that's just something people have to think about now, so I want to be able to put my my webcam on the screen. Don't make me cover up the game, that kind of thing.
In fact, customization seemed like a really big part of this. Obviously, there's going to be gear, like in any third-person
It was a loot
this.
shooter.
A loot shooter is going to be a lot of gear, but there was also not just leveling up your character with huge skill trees for your characters, but also you can level up the world. There was world.
This was a difficulty, a world tier.
World tier.
It was largely a difficulty thing.
But so. This wasn't just your difficulty, easy, medium, hard. Like you can go into to the Elder Scrolls games, and I remember in Oblivion, it was like a 1 to 10, how difficult you want it.
Right, and it just increases basically how much damage enemies can take.
Right. This enemies will have better gear. They will have smarter play, like better AI, and the higher you have your world tier, the better gear you'll
get better loot drops.
Not to mention, if you are level X, and you have a high world tier, you can equip gear X plus 3.
Yeah.
But if you have a lower world tier, you have to stick with gear X.
Right.
And
it's not the first time something like this has been in a game, but it did definitely seem very tailored and particular.
To me, it's the first time I've seen something like this.
Yeah, I mean,
and
difficulty really affecting like loot drops and stuff isn't the first time, but yeah, this definitely seems like it has some new particulars and
this
some
was
introducing some new ideas.
You are customizing the world as well as your character, and you're kind of picking everything together to fit together for your best gameplay. You can customize your in-game character, you can customize your out-of-game, your real-life display, and you can customize how the world itself acts and what you receive from the world and how you interact with the world.
Yeah,
there was a lot of focus on customization.
I feel like in the actual game, it's not going to be as like you just have your different settings. We'll see. Obviously, we're this is all unfinished, and also we will see when it comes out. One thing that made me literally laugh was that it was trying to sell me on having a lore Bible in the pause menu.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember that, but it was just like, we don't want you to have to read everything in the game, so we'll put it in the... And it's like, yeah, that's video games.
Yeah.
Like... Actually, that's less. I want like dynamic and interesting world storytelling more than I want to just read an information dump in my pause menu. So this is actually not helping me. And also, you're selling me on having a lore Bible? That's video games now.
You did it.
That was so weird to me that was something they took the time to point out. Like, look at what we got. You can look at this codex.
Well, I know that in Destiny in The Division, I had a lot of times where I was like, I genuinely don't even know what's going on in the story.
Did it not have any?
It had a story, and I'm sure it was fine.
No, I mean, did it not have any place to find that?
There were cutscenes and everything like that. But because I streamed the whole thing, I was just talking to people a lot of times through it. I was with like 4 other people playing, and the story was not important to me. So it's nice that they won't force a lot of the story on you if you don't want that story, but hey, we've had lore in the pause menu.
It was such a weird thing
decades.
Of like, oh, we got nothing, let's talk about this. It might be an in-depth codex or whatever, but still weird.
The last thing that really stood out to me that I thought was cool is that each character class heals differently. There was not going to be
you can't just have a standard healer
or like a heal item or whatever else.
Right.
Each class they focus on the trickster this time. Like the trickster heals by doing close damage, whether it's going to be melee combat or ranged combat, but at close range. And that's how the trickster heals. And his
I need heals. Shoot me in the face.
And his or her
hey, come punch me real quick. I need to heal.
Health is going to be, or like style of gameplay is going to be affected by that.
Sure, yeah.
And so I think that's going to be really unique. I think it's going to cause a lot more like, instead of being like, hey, I just need to duck and cover while my health refills.
Yeah. Doing something more interesting than just hiding.
Yeah.
Running away from the game. Man.
They said that they very much wanted to make healing an active thing. It made me think of Bloodborne.
Yeah,
and
for
Bloodborne,
me that's Doom.
Oh, yeah. Exact same type of thing.
You heal faster by killing enemies the right way.
Absolutely. So I thought that was really unique, and I like that. Yeah.
So this one, exceedingly fine.
All in all, you say exceedingly fine. I'm stoked for this.
If it was
I really am.
They are trying to tell, hey, it's co-op game. Cool. It's not going to happen, but if it was couch co-op, absolutely, let's buy it. Let's play it. But for me, it's maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll see what reviews are like. Anyway.
There was also a state of play on
there was
27th.
State of play.
Yeah, it was the Last of Us 2 state of play.
I did not watch this.
Now, to be clear, Fox wants to go into Last of Us 2 as like
almost as pure as possible.
Yeah,
as untainted as possible. I've played the first one. I just finished playing it again, and also I watched like the first trailer for part 2.
Right.
But that's all I've seen.
But so he didn't watch this.
Right.
I did, and so I'm going to talk about this, but I'm going to try and keep it as
no spoilers. I want to know general thoughts
as possible.
Zero spoilers because it comes out in like 3 weeks.
Right. So just some interesting things. It looked like combat this time is going to be much more like planned out. You're really going to have to be wise about your choices. You can't just run and gun. There's going to be a lot of thinking about it and really executing a whole system, game plan or
like
whatever
long
else.
Range thinking.
It was also I was taking notes during the thing, and at one point I wrote, "Woof, brutal.
Yep.
And then something else happened, and it was to the point that I went back and wrote really brutal. And then something else happened again, and I went back and I said, seriously though, brutal. They ain't joking around.
That seems. Oh yeah, I have watched the newest trailer also, and it just seems like, hey, let's go the darkest possible tone you can.
Yes.
Everybody's mad and everybody dies. Essentially, Ellie is gonna murder everyone, is what it seems like.
So I was going to say this before, but since you're bringing this up now, I'll say that it really seems like Ellie has the me and mine philosophy of,
oh yeah,
there's me and the people that I love, and
everything
other
else
than
is
that
nothing.
is expendable.
Right.
Yeah, and if you are not me or people I love, you are 100% expendable, and I don't care.
Yeah.
And she doesn't. Like, there's some parts
Yeah,
where it's
I'm
like,
really.
woof.
Yeah, it's gonna be a rough one to get through.
Yeah, absolutely.
sure.
Which that's Last of Us though.
Sure.
There seem to be different. I'm trying not to be very spoilery here.
There are
different styles of
mechanics
enemies
in the game.
in as much as there are different, like, humans and the infected, of course, but even amongst the humans there are different styles, and
Sure.
some of them are going to be like specifically stealth, and some of them are going to be specifically more team based, and then there's the infected as well, and now there's the opportunity, if you come into an area, to sick them all on each other and just sit back and let things happen.
I did do that a little bit in the DLC pack Left Behind, and that was super fun, but it was also just a part of the game that you were specifically led to wanting to do that. It wasn't just a natural part of gameplay, but that's awesome.
Yeah, so there was a lot of combat specifics that they focused on for this that really made it shine for me. The combat itself, also, there's a lot of really intricate animation. When you customize your weapon, you actually are, it's a camera down shot over a table, and you see Ellie put on the scope and screw it on
something
as
a little
you're
more
choosing what it is.
realistic.
Yeah, and then when you choose the Molotov cocktail, like when you hover over it to throw, Ellie pulls it out and lights it and then holds it. And then when you choose to not do it, she puts it out and puts it back away. Or then she takes it out, lights it again, and throws it. And there's just a lot of really intricate detail in there that is going to help lend to the immersion of this game. The story beats and things like that are also really cool. There was a moment at the very end of it, of course, that you were just like, whoa! That's all I'll
exactly
say,
what I want to experience while playing the game as a whole.
Right.
Rather than just a little, like, teaser.
But
I won't have that experience when playing it if I'm supposed to.
Right.
So
yeah, you should go check it out. It was really good, and I enjoyed it a lot. But this is a one-sided conversation.
Right.
On the note of
now let's move on to the other side of the conversation.
Right.
So there was a stream, not a conference, like just a little presentation.
League of Legends.
From Riot about League of Legends Wild Rift today. Essentially, it's basically giving us first gameplay and also lots of details on the mobile version of League of Legends. That's essentially what it is. Which feels like it's like, I think based on what I saw in the comments, like people were very, very, very excited for it, but also just like, wow, it took you long enough.
No kidding.
Like, it feels like, hey, Fortnite did it a while ago.
And Fortnite's mobile is huge.
And is massive, and like...
I played Fortnite once ever for 5 minutes, and it was on a cell phone.
And so anyway, so basically what it showed was, hey, here's what the gameplay is going to look like, and the UI being on a phone with it's obviously a completely different interface because you're playing on your phone, so it's like a twin stick thing. And so they showed that there was a problem with the actual thing, the actual broadcast or the actual like show
stream,
was that they had like the Summer Game Fest, League of Legends Wild Rift gameplay reveal, and it was on the entire time, so it was literally covering up some of the UI of the game.
Oh, that's rough.
It's like, I mean, it wasn't, I would assume, super detrimental. It's not going to be anything crazy underneath there.
Right.
But also, guys, we know what it is. We're 20 minutes in. We know what to turn that off. We know what we're watching right now.
We're keenly aware of this.
So basically it was, hey, we're going to have a limited beta or something similar to that. Regional beta, I think is what they were saying. So we... here's the characters you'll be able to play as at the start. League of Legends has a deep roster.
Yes.
A lot of characters, and there's like 40 that they're going to start with. One thing I did enjoy, let me look at my notes here. They clearly knew that the audience was going to be their biggest source of info on how good it was. At every turn, they were just like, we think it's pretty good, but also we're hoping you tell us what's bad. Which I love. Like, yes, for such a thing. League of Legends is a massive community. It's one where people have a lot of opinions all the time, and the company, obviously, Riot can't just take everything and please everybody. But they really do need to look into, like, if this is going to thrive, then they need to look into what their audience wants from it.
Right.
And so, yeah, I really appreciated how many times they brought that up. Like, very much felt like it's pretty good, but also maybe it's not. I don't know. Tell us. And
League of Legends is also infamous for its toxic community. So
Riot also is infamous for its toxic.
Yeah,
it's a bad situation.
Riot does not help that situation.
Overall, the pre-made video, it was not like I didn't even seem like there was an interview with. I, to be honest, ended it like 10 minutes before it was over because it got into the weeds on League of Legends.
Yeah.
For me, that's not super interesting because I don't play it. But the presenters knew what they were talking about. It seemed solid, and this is also apparently the first in a monthly video series. League of Legends
Outriders also was saying that they were going to have a monthly series.
Yeah,
and to me,
or maybe I'm thinking of Outriders anyway.
And to me, I'm like, dude, how much content do you have that you need to be talking about this every month?
To me, that was an influence from Warframe. Warframe has, it's either weekly or monthly, but it's just like a live, like, commentary or like game developer roundtable, like people from the company talking about, hey, here's what we're thinking, here's what we're going to put in the game, talk about the community, talk about things, and people love that. It's got Space Mom in it. She's a character in the game and also part of the community team and I think that, like, people are seeing, like, oh, people love that, we could do that, and streaming is such an easy thing, so let's do that. The biggest thing that for me took away from this was I learned one time in college, I had a roommate who was playing League of Legends, and I learned it was like 45-minute matches. And I was like, that is crazy to me to play, like, that's a long time. It just wasn't for me. And this said, we're going to shorten it to about 15 to 20 minutes per average. And I was like, okay, I'm still not sold, but that's definitely a big thing for me. I don't want to have to invest 45 minutes into a match that, if I need to leave for some reason, everybody else is going to be pissed at me, or absolutely. I'll get actually like negative results on my account or something like that. And so shorter games is a big plus for me.
I'm a father of 3, and cutting out a solid 45 minutes of time that I can be uninterrupted is
it's a big order. Yeah.
So, well, that's it for this week of the Summer Game Fest. Let us know what you guys thought about all the things that we saw, about the Wholesome Direct, about the Outriders stuff, about the State of Play, about League of Legends, all this stuff that happened this past week. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for support, and we'll see you next week with more Summer Game Fest stuff.
Absolutely. See you guys.
Bye.